The air feels different in December, a sacred rhythm that whispers to the soul, inviting hearts to open, spirits to awaken, and minds to surrender to the divine. There is a unique energy this month, a sacred alignment where heaven seems closer and the prayers of the faithful ascend like incense to the throne of God. And it is in this holy time that Padre Pio, the humble servant of God, the saint whose life was a testament to prayer and divine intercession, revealed secrets so powerful that they can transform ordinary days into moments of profound blessing. If you stay with me until the very end, you will discover 3 sacred practices, hidden in simplicity, yet wrapped in divine mystery, that open the doors to blessings, protection, and spiritual clarity. These are not just prayers to be repeated mechanically. They are living acts of faith, infused with intention, devotion, and the heavenly grace that Padre Pio carried throughout his earthly life. Imagine, if you will, standing at the threshold of December, the cold air brushing against your face, the quiet of winter enveloping your city or village. And yet, in that stillness there is an invitation, a call from the divine to step into a rhythm of faith, to align your heart with God's will, and to participate in a sacred flow of blessings that Padre Pio so often interceded for on behalf of those who approached him with humility. He understood more than many that blessings are not merely gifts to be received, but responses to faith, devotion, and spiritual obedience. And it is precisely in this sacred month, as the veil between heaven and earth seems thinner, that these 3 practices become more potent, more alive, more capable of opening hearts and homes to divine providence. Padre Pio's life was marked by extraordinary signs: the stigmata, the visions of angels, the bilocations that revealed his presence in places he had never physically been. Yet, despite these marvels, his teachings were simple, grounded in love, prayer, and a profound connection with God. These 3 sacred practices are extensions of that simplicity and that love. They are practical acts, yet each carries a spiritual weight that can touch your life deeply if approached with reverence, patience, and faith. And this is why the hour you dedicate to this video, the moments you invest in understanding these practices, are not just educational. They are participatory, spiritual acts that open your soul to the mysteries of divine blessing. Now, let us prepare the heart to receive. These practices are not for casual engagement. They are for those who are ready to embrace a higher calling, those willing to surrender their worries, doubts, and distractions to God. Each practice involves a conscious act of devotion, prayer, meditation, and a movement of the soul toward the divine. They are designed to awaken sensitivity to God's presence, to attune the heart to divine rhythms, and to align human effort with heavenly grace. And though December is fleeting, the spiritual patterns we establish now can carry blessings throughout the year, touching health, family, work, and the hidden corners of our spiritual journey. Consider the first practice, which Padre Pio often spoke of in subtle ways to those who sought his counsel. It is the cultivation of inner stillness, a pause from reaction, a turning inward, where the soul meets God in the quiet of prayer. In December, this stillness becomes a sacred vessel, capable of holding blessings that might otherwise pass unnoticed. Imagine lighting a candle, the flame flickering softly, and holding in your mind's eye the intention to receive divine mercy. Let your heart speak freely in words, sighs, or silent thoughts, offering all that you are to God. This is the threshold practice, the one that prepares the spirit to receive, to perceive blessings in ordinary moments, and to recognize miracles in the subtle movement of daily life. The second practice involves a direct act of intercession, a giving of oneself in prayer for others, echoing the life of Padre Pio, who bore the pains and prayers of many in his heart. It is a reminder that blessings flow most freely when they are not hoarded but shared, when the faithful align their personal petitions with acts of love and compassion. December offers a heightened sensitivity to this truth. As the year closes, reflecting on our connections, our generosity, and our intentions become spiritually transformative. Padre Pio understood that prayer is not a private transaction, but a communal act, a bridge between human need and divine providence. And the third practice, a practice of trust, calls for surrender. It is a letting go of control, a recognition that God's wisdom surpasses human understanding, and that true blessings often arrive in ways we cannot anticipate. This surrender is not passive. It is active faith. It is choosing hope over despair, light over darkness, and divine timing over impatience. Padre Pio often counseled, Pray, hope, and do not worry. In December, this counsel takes on particular resonance as the month's sacredness amplifies every intention and every act of faith. Even as you engage with these practices, imagine the unseen presence of Padre Pio, his prayers joining yours, his intercessions reaching the throne of God on your behalf. Imagine the doors of heaven opening slightly wider, allowing divine light, protection, and guidance to flow into your life. And know that your attention, your devotion, and your willingness to engage with these sacred acts are themselves part of the blessing. The air seems charged with expectancy, and it is not a coincidence. There is a mystical rhythm in December, a sacred window where faith, intention, and action converge to manifest blessings. Padre Pio's revelations were not theoretical. They were lived, embodied, and transmitted through prayer, guidance, and simple acts of devotion. These three sacred practices are accessible to anyone, yet they carry a potency that transcends ordinary human experience. They invite you to step into a reality where faith touches every corner of existence, where prayer becomes a conduit for divine favor, and where each small act of devotion resonates in the spiritual realm with eternal significance. Now, consider the emotional landscape. Many approach this month burdened with worry, unresolved conflict, or spiritual fatigue. Padre Pio's teachings offer a remedy. Through these three practices, hearts are lightened, minds are clarified, and the soul experiences a tangible peace. This is not theoretical. Countless faithful have testified, in whisper or in public recounting, of unexpected reconciliations, moments of clarity and sudden experiences of grace that seem to coincide with engagement in these sacred practices. The promise of December is not in the calendar, but in the heart that receives, the spirit that participates, and the faith that acts. Each practice, though simple, must be approached with intentionality. The candle is not merely a flame, it is a symbol of light piercing darkness. The act of intercession is not a casual thought, it is an offering of love into the spiritual economy. The surrender is not resignation, it is the acknowledgement that God's wisdom is infinitely greater than our understanding. And in this alignment, blessings flow, quietly but powerfully, into every area of life touched by faith, intention, and participation. Even now, as you reflect on these words, imagine carrying them into your daily routine, morning or evening, in moments of silence or through spoken prayer. The practices integrate into your life, becoming a rhythm of devotion, a channel through which divine mercy flows. December's sacredness magnifies the effects, and Padre Pio's intercession amplifies the alignment between human longing and heavenly response. And so, with the first part of this journey, we have entered the sacred rhythm of December, understood the three pillars that Padre Pio revealed, and prepared the heart for deeper engagement. You are invited to continue, to embrace the sacred practices fully, and to allow divine blessing to unfold in ways that are both subtle and profound. The promise is clear. Blessings, protection, and spiritual clarity are available to those who open their hearts, engage their faith, and follow the path illuminated by one of God's most faithful servants. As we move deeper into the sacred rhythm of December, it is essential to understand not just the surface of these practices, but the profound spiritual reality they reveal. Padre Pio, through his life and his intercessions, taught that blessings are not abstract, they are living currents of divine grace, flowing into the heart and the soul when faith is present and intention is aligned with God's will. The first practice, cultivating inner stillness, is more than sitting quietly with a candle or reciting a prayer. It is an invitation to enter the sanctuary of the soul, to lay down anxieties, distractions, and fears, and to meet God in the silent spaces between thoughts. In these moments, the soul becomes a vessel, receptive and pure, able to receive the delicate, powerful energy of blessings. Padre Pio's teachings emphasize that God's blessings often arrive subtly, in ways that the mind may not immediately recognize. A sense of peace where there was once worry, clarity where there was confusion, reconciliation in fractured relationships. These are the whispers of divine favor. In December, the potency of these blessings is heightened because the soul itself resonates with the sacred timing of God. Angels, saints, and heavenly forces are particularly attentive during this month, drawing near to assist those who seek with pure hearts. By practicing stillness, the faithful align themselves with this rhythm, becoming attuned to signals and inspirations that might otherwise pass unnoticed. The second practice, intercessory prayer for others, is deeply rooted in the understanding that God's grace is communal. Padre Pio himself carried the prayers of countless souls in his heart, often bearing their burdens physically and spiritually. When we pray for others, we create a channel through which blessings flow in both directions. The person for whom we pray is uplifted, and our own hearts expand with mercy and compassion. To practice this, one might light a candle for someone in need, silently offer a heartfelt prayer, or dedicate a small act of kindness in their honor. Even the simplest gestures, when infused with faith, become conduits of divine intervention. December amplifies this practice, offering an energetic field in which prayer is more potent and intercessory acts gain extraordinary spiritual traction. The third practice, surrender, may appear the most challenging, yet it is profoundly liberating. To surrender is to acknowledge the limits of human control and to trust in God's infinite wisdom. It is not passive resignation. It is a conscious act of faith, a choice to place one's concerns, desires, and outcomes into God's hands. Padre Pio often reminded the faithful that worry obstructs blessing and that trust opens the heart to receive mercy. Practically, surrender can be enacted through silent meditation, through repetitive recitation of a prayer that acknowledges God's guidance, or through intentional acts of letting go, releasing resentment, forgiving an enemy, or abandoning fear. Each act of surrender is a doorway to blessing, an invitation for divine intervention to enter the life of the faithful. Now let us explore how these practices can be integrated into daily life, particularly during December. Begin each morning with a moment of stillness, perhaps before sunrise, allowing the heart to center and open. Light a candle and focus on the flame, visualizing the presence of God illuminating every corner of your life. Recite prayers that resonate, whether formal prayers of the church or spontaneous words from the heart. During the day, make time for intercessory acts. Lift others in your mind, offer words of encouragement, or dedicate simple deeds of service to the divine. In the evening, practice surrender by reflecting on the day, releasing what cannot be controlled, and entrusting outcomes to God's providence. These steps, repeated daily, create a rhythm of blessing, a channel through which grace flows freely. Witnessing the fruits of these practices is often subtle yet profound. Perhaps an argument is avoided, or a moment of clarity brings understanding where confusion reigned. Relationships may begin to mend, or peace may settle in the heart unexpectedly. Padre Pio's intercession amplifies these effects, for the faithful saint is known to carry prayers from the earthly to the heavenly realm with extraordinary power. Consider the countless testimonies: a family reconciled after months of tension, a long-standing worry eased by a sudden insight, or a personal transformation in which anger and fear are replaced by patience and serenity. These are the tangible signs of blessings flowing, the visible evidence that divine intervention is real and active in the lives of those who engage in these sacred practices. As we explore these practices more deeply, it is crucial to understand their theological significance. Stillness opens the soul to the presence of the Holy Spirit. Intercession extends God's love into the community, and surrender aligns the human will with the divine. Each practice is a reflection of key Catholic truths: the efficacy of prayer, the communion of saints, the power of mercy, and the active presence of God in the everyday life of the faithful. December, as a sacred month, magnifies these truths, offering the faithful an opportunity to participate fully in the divine economy of grace. Padre Pio's revelations are not only about personal blessing, they teach a spiritual law. Blessing flows where faith, devotion, and action meet. In practical terms, engaging with these practices can be enriched by the use of sacramentals, holy water, rosaries, sacred images, and candles. These objects serve as reminders and focal points for prayer, aiding concentration and intention. When combined with heartfelt devotion, they become powerful tools that anchor the soul in sacred rhythm. Lighting a candle while praying for others, sprinkling holy water in your home as an act of blessing, or tracing the sign of the cross while invoking Padre Pio's intercession transforms ordinary actions into channels of grace. The spiritual principle is simple. Faith, focused and enacted, opens the door for God's blessings. Let us not forget the emotional aspect. Faith is not merely intellectual assent, it is an engagement of the heart and spirit. Padre Pio's guidance is deeply pastoral. He meets people where they are, acknowledging human struggle while guiding souls toward trust and surrender. December, with its sacredness, amplifies emotional receptivity. The heart that approaches these practices with humility and openness becomes like fertile soil, ready to receive seeds of blessing, insight, and spiritual transformation. This is why the faithful are encouraged to dedicate themselves fully, to approach prayer with intentionality, and to observe these practices consistently throughout the month. Consider the transformative nature of intercession in particular. When we lift others in prayer, we participate in a spiritual economy where grace flows freely. Padre Pio demonstrated this throughout his life, carrying the concerns, sins, and petitions of countless souls in his heart. By praying for others, we connect to this divine current, becoming instruments of God's mercy. Small acts like lighting a candle for someone who is struggling or offering silent prayer during moments of reflection become potent spiritual interventions. December's sacredness ensures that these acts resonate more deeply, and the spiritual field is particularly receptive to these offerings. The practice of surrender, though challenging, yields profound spiritual rewards. It is the conscious choice to relinquish control, to trust that God's plan is higher, wiser, and infinitely more loving than any human understanding. Padre Pio counseled repeatedly that worry hinders blessing, while trust invites it. Practically, surrender can be enacted through quiet reflection, journaling intentions and then offering them to God, or consciously releasing negative thoughts and resentments. Each act strengthens the spiritual muscle of faith, creating space for divine influence to manifest. The faithful learn that surrender is not weakness, it is power, an alignment with the omnipotent and benevolent hand of God. Throughout December, the faithful who integrate these practices often experience subtle yet unmistakable signs of blessing. Perhaps an unexpected opportunity arises, a reconciliation occurs, or inner peace replaces previously persistent anxiety. These are the markers of spiritual engagement, the visible evidence that divine grace is active and present. Padre Pio's intercession amplifies these blessings, for he carries the prayers of the faithful to God with extraordinary devotion. The faithful are encouraged to note these moments, reflect on them, and offer gratitude, creating a cycle of recognition and continued blessing. As this part of our journey concludes, the faithful are now prepared to move deeper into the sacred rhythm of December. The practices of stillness, intercession, and surrender have been introduced, their spiritual significance explored, and their practical application outlined. What remains is to witness the transformative power of these acts through continued engagement, observation, and devotion. The promise of Padre Pio's guidance is that blessings, protection, and divine insight are accessible to those who approach these practices with open hearts, faithful intention, and consistent participation. As we enter the final stage of this sacred journey, it is essential to understand that the three practices revealed by Padre Pio, stillness, intercession, and surrender, are not merely rituals, but living expressions of faith. They are conduits through which the divine presence flows into daily life, touching the heart, mind, and spirit. In December, this flow is amplified, for the sacred rhythm of the month aligns with the heavenly currents of grace. Those who engage with these practices fully, with devotion and humility, discover that blessings arrive in forms both expected and surprising, often in ways that transform not only circumstances, but the very orientation of the soul. Padre Pio's life teaches us that faith is an active force. Stillness allows the soul to hear the subtle promptings of God. Intercession transforms ordinary love into spiritual action. Surrender aligns human intention with divine wisdom. When these practices are combined, they create a spiritual synergy, a rhythm in which the believer becomes attuned to the sacred heartbeat of the universe. December, with its sacredness, magnifies this synergy, creating moments in which prayer becomes a powerful instrument, capable of opening doors that were previously closed and illuminating paths that were obscured. It is at this stage that the faithful begin to experience profound internal shifts. Anxiety gives way to peace. Doubt transforms into trust. The heart, once burdened by worldly concerns, becomes a vessel for divine mercy. These are subtle miracles, often unnoticed at first, yet their cumulative effect is extraordinary. Padre Pio's intercession is particularly powerful in these moments, bridging the earthly and heavenly realms, bringing the faithful into a closer, more intimate relationship with God. The faithful are encouraged to note these experiences, for they are signs of alignment with divine will, affirming that the practices are effective when performed with intention and devotion. Let us now deepen the commitment. The faithful are invited to extend these practices beyond personal devotion, sharing them with loved ones, neighbors, and even those whose hearts may be distant from God. Prayer offered in intercession not only blesses the recipient, but also transforms the giver. As Padre Pio often said, the heart that prays for others becomes enlarged, capable of receiving and transmitting grace more abundantly. During December, this communal dimension is particularly potent. Acts of intercession, small or large, create spiritual ripples that affect entire households, communities, and even regions. The sacred rhythm of the month ensures that every prayer, every act of surrender, and every moment of stillness resonates far beyond the individual practitioner. The next step in this spiritual journey is to embrace prophetic awareness. Padre Pio's teachings encourage the faithful to be attentive to signs, inspirations, and promptings from the Holy Spirit. These may come as subtle thoughts, feelings of encouragement, or unexpected opportunities for reconciliation or service. By cultivating stillness and surrender, the soul becomes sensitive to these divine signals. December is a month in which prophetic awareness is heightened. The faithful who engage in the three sacred practices often find themselves guided to acts of compassion, insight, and discernment that they would not have perceived otherwise. This is not coincidence, but a reflection of alignment with God's divine plan and the intercession of Padre Pio. Now comes the moment of invitation, the call to active participation. The faithful are encouraged to write intentions, to lift the names of loved ones in prayer, and to consciously dedicate acts of devotion to the sacred purposes outlined by Padre Pio. Each comment, each shared intention, each humble act of faith strengthens the spiritual network of grace, uniting the community of believers in a tapestry of prayer and blessing. In this way, the individual practice becomes communal, reinforcing the power of collective faith. Participation is not passive, it is an expression of active devotion, a choice to engage fully with the sacred rhythm of December, and a willingness to allow divine blessing to flow through every action. The final act of this sacred journey is the blessing. Padre Pio's intercession invites the faithful to offer themselves fully to God, to receive protection, guidance, and peace. Begin with stillness, acknowledging the presence of the divine. Follow with intercessory prayer, lifting the needs of self and others to God. Conclude with surrender, consciously releasing all concerns and trusting in divine wisdom. As this ritual unfolds, envision the light of God descending upon your life, illuminating each corner of your mind, heart, and home. Feel the warmth of divine presence, the quiet assurance that blessing has arrived, even if subtly, and the profound peace that comes from complete spiritual alignment. The faithful are reminded that these practices do not promise material gain or literal miracles, but they open the heart to spiritual blessings that manifest as peace, clarity, guidance, and protection. Padre Pio's life demonstrates that the most powerful blessings are those that transform the inner life, renewing hope, faith, and love. By faithfully engaging in these sacred practices throughout December, the believer participates in a spiritual rhythm that resonates with God's providence, creating a foundation for continued blessing throughout the year. As the sacred month unfolds, continue these practices daily. Light a candle as a visual focus for prayer. Use holy water to sanctify your space. Recite prayers with intention, and dedicate moments of reflection to surrender. Each act, small yet deliberate, becomes a channel for divine grace. Observe the changes in your heart, mind, and relationships. Note the subtle movements of divine favor, the moments of clarity, reconciliation, and peace. These are the true markers of spiritual blessing, the evidence that Padre Pio's teachings remain alive, relevant, and profoundly effective for those who approach them with faith. Finally, let us close with a communal act of devotion. Lift your intentions, your prayers, and the names of those you love, asking Padre Pio to intercede on your behalf. Offer a moment of silence, allow your heart to speak freely, and surrender fully to God's will. Feel the unity of the faithful, past and present, joined in prayer, creating a sacred network of blessing and protection. Trust that as you continue these practices, the light of God will guide your path, the peace of the Spirit will dwell within your heart, and the intercession of Padre Pio will accompany you throughout the sacred rhythm of December and beyond. In conclusion, the three sacred practices revealed by Padre Pio, stillness, intercession, and surrender, are invitations to participate fully in the divine economy of grace. They are accessible, practical, and spiritually potent, especially during December. Engaging with these practices aligns the soul with God's will, opens the heart to blessing and invites divine guidance into daily life. By dedicating time, intention, and devotion, the faithful experience profound transformation, renewed faith, and spiritual clarity. The presence of Padre Pio's intercession amplifies these effects, reminding believers that divine assistance is always near to those who seek it with humility, trust, and perseverance. May your heart be open, your spirit attentive, and your life aligned with the sacred rhythms revealed by Padre Pio. Receive these blessings with faith, gratitude, and joy, and share them with others through acts of love and intercession. Let this December be a month of profound spiritual awakening, peace, and divine favor, guided by the teachings of one of God's most faithful servants. And may you carry this sacred rhythm forward, beyond the month, into a life lived fully in alignment with divine will, ever aware of the power, presence, and protection of God through the intercession of Padre Pio.